Well, for those people that are probably long-time subscribers, this is probably one of the most predicted videos that you'd get from Waynos Fotos. And yes, it's another disc brake versus rim brake video. But it's not Waynos Fotos making the comments this time, it's Chris Froome. And he basically made these comments about the problems he's having with disc brakes. And if you haven't watched that video, I'll go link it up the top here so you can go and watch it. But the reason why we should listen to someone like Chris Froome is because he's a pro, and he's probably one of the most accomplished pros in the last 10 years. He's had some significant achievements, although maybe he's not cycling at his best at the moment. But a guy like Chris Froome is surrounded by top-end professionals. He has dietitians, he has physiotherapists, he has cycling coaches, and he also has cycling mechanics that are UCI endorsed and are the best in the industry. So let's roll our intro and let's go over what Chris had to say about his disc brake on his bike. Now, Chris Froome is currently doing his training in the Canary Islands for the upcoming events, and he's been riding around for another guy that was from his team, and he's just talking about the island and one side of the island, how it's different to ride on the other side of the island. And as he's talking, you can hear the sounds. You can hear this like
Do it again. Do it again.
sound as he's talking. And then he basically points out that sound is his disc brakes rubbing. So he basically goes, well, yeah, you know, they just haven't got them right. And he basically goes, how that every time he has his brakes set up and they readjust them and they're fine again and they're working 100%, then he does like a long descent. They heat up and they expand, and then when they go back to normal and cool down, they don't go back to the same adjustment that he had prior to doing that downhill descent, and they start rubbing again, and then he has to have them go back to the mechanic, have them readjusted. So he constantly has to have them readjustment, because when you're using the brakes heavily, they go out of adjustment, and the rubbing is quite significant. You can hear this rubbing, and it's very clear to hear in the video. So go and check it out, and you can hear what's happening there. Now, he also points out in that video that he's given his bike to a number of mechanics, and no one can get it set up so it doesn't give him any problems. And what you've got to understand is that these mechanics, these are the best in the world. If you're a bicycle mechanic, right, to get onto a pro team at that level, that's like the top echelon level. You have to know what you're doing. You have to be able to pull the bikes apart, put the bikes back together and pack them up, and also do that in a timely manner. And you need to keep those bikes at 100%, because if there's a mechanical or something goes wrong with that bike, especially in a race, that not only reflects on the mechanic, reflects on the whole team. So the teams want the best mechanics that are going to make those bikes reliable, make them perform as advertised. And the other thing that we need to consider is, you might go, oh yeah, one mechanic might not be that good with disc brakes, but he's shown this bike to a number of mechanics and no one can get it sorted. So really, you have to really start then to accept the fact that this is not Chris Froome, it's not his mechanic, right? It's actually the equipment. The equipment on the bike is not working to a level where it's not giving any problems the way they ride the bikes at that level, to that level of performance. So, you know, they're getting braked hard, they're getting braked continuously, and then also they're climbing. They're using the bike at a premium level. And at that level, the disc brakes are not performing as you would expect them to, or as advertised. They're playing up. Okay, you might argue and go, yeah, but look, it's only a bit of rubbing, and even Chris Froome says, you know, just puts his earplugs in his ears to hide the sound. You go, yeah, but when you've got a bike and you're riding it, you've just done a big descent, and then the brakes start rubbing, it's a psychological barrier as well, because if you think it's rubbing, you think you may be losing a few watts. You could be losing 5, 10 watts or whatever, just from that rubbing. And that plays on your mind, especially if someone's pulling away and you're really on the limit and you're trying to catch them and you go, are these disc brakes holding me back? It's a psychological barrier to the rider. And of course, these bikes are $15,000 to $20,000 US, and they've got brakes that rub and go, It really just isn't good enough. And this is what I've been saying. I'm not saying that disc brakes don't work, they're rubbish, whatever. But on road bikes, with the way that road bikes are designed and the way that the frames are a passive suspension system and the way that the variances on the disc are very, very fine and the quality of control of the bikes, the disc brakes just can't be made reliable at this point in time. Now, saying all that, Chris Froome did say that this is only the 11-speed, he hasn't got the new 12-speed on his bike yet, but we will have to see how that pans out in the future with this new 12-speed. Have they really changed anything? From what I've seen from the reviews of the 12-speed, it doesn't seem like it. The only really major change is now they're using the XTR discs. Maybe that makes a difference, and they've also put a bigger gap in there. So maybe they are a little bit more consistent. We don't know. But that'll come out in the wash. But unfortunately, at the moment, 12-speed group sets are pretty hard to get, even for the pros. And Chris Froome's not riding one because obviously they're just not available. Well, anyway, guys, leave your comments down below because Chris Froome is really speaking honest. And you can imagine if you're riding a product on your bike and you're basically saying it's not working as it should be, that's a big thing for a person to say that. And there would be probably a lot of pressure on pros to not trash the gear that they're riding. So if there's a pro riding a product and he's basically saying there's issues with it, we really need to take that quite seriously. Okay, guys, remember to smash that like button because that pushes the video out into the YouTube world. And if you haven't subscribed, just subscribe down below if you like these type of cycling videos. Well, that's where I'm going to leave it, and I'm going to see you next vid. Cheers.